Welcome everybody to this quick tutorial about how to use PollEverywhere. PollEverywhere is established here at UC Riverside through a site license that UC Riverside has obtained, meaning that students can use it at no additional cost in each of their classes, right? So they probably pay for it as part of their student fees, but if you want to use a polling software in your class, if you go with PollEverywhere, students won't have to pay any extra for it. And again, you can automatically integrate it through the course management systems. With that in mind, I'm going to give you a quick tutorial about how to create a question in PollEverywhere, maybe some guidelines for how these questions could or should be graded, and then some guidelines for how you might want to incorporate these into your classroom. So with that in mind, when you open up your PollEverywhere course site, you should see this home page that looks pretty similar to this. If you click on activities, this is where you can kind of start organizing the activities that you create for your classes. And notice that I usually organize them by class or presentation. So if you were to look at any one of my classes, right, then again, you would see a list of, say, activities here organized by chapter. With that in mind, we're going to create a new folder here, right, to show you how to do that. So if you click on this plus folder icon, right, we're going to create a folder just called demo. And boom, now we've got that folder created. We can click in that folder. And again, if you want to organize your activities by, say, chapter or section, you can do that. So again, we're going to create another folder here. We'll just label that section 1. All right, so now that we've got these folders created, we can start creating our first activity. So if we want to create our first activity in section 1, we're going to click on that section 1 folder, and then we're going to click this plus activity icon. And that's going to pull up the various list of types of questions that you can ask. Now, the most common types of questions asked usually in these polling softwares are multiple choice, so I'll go through an example of how to create that question. But you can also use something like a word cloud where students are going to type responses, and those responses are going to appear in a word cloud on your screen. The more common a response is, the bigger that word gets in the cloud. Right. You can also use Q&A where students can upvote and downvote others' answers. Right. You can look through clickable images. Right. You can create a survey, open-ended questions, competitions, and as you're going to be able to see, a whole lot more. So there's a wide range of types of questions that you can ask here. But again, to keep things simple for this presentation, we're going to stick with multiple choice. Then you can explore those other types on your own. Right, so again, we're just in the title here going to type a quick question like, what is 2 plus 2? Right, now if you wanted to, you could attach an image that goes along with this question. Right, so for example, if you are asking students to maybe view a certain graph and answer questions about it, you could upload an image of that graph. But once you have your question typed, then you just have to type out some answers here. Right, so say 2 for, say we want a total of 4 choices, then we're just going to add option here. Say 5, add another option. We'll call it 8, right? Now we know that 2 plus 2 is equal to 4, so we're going to go ahead and select 4 as our correct response. Once we have all that set up, we're just going to click create, and we have created our first PollEverywhere question that can appear in class, right? So with that in mind, we need to decide now how we want this question asked. Right, so you can leave it on responses. If you leave it on responses, then whenever you're presenting this question and students are answering it, you're going to see in real time the responses that students are putting as the answer to the question, right? So if you want that available, just keep it on that responses icon, right? Now, if you click on instructions and you ask the question this way, then when students are answering the question in that presentation mode, the total results in terms of the number of people who are answering the question is going to tick up, but you're not going to see what other people have put. Right, so those responses won't be available in live or real time. Now, I usually like to edit the gradebook here for the question. So when I go to this edit, it automatically gives you 1 point here for the correct answer and 0 points for the incorrect answer. What I like to do though is I give usually 3 points for the correct answer and 1 point for the incorrect answer, because I want to give students something if they're in class trying, and even if they get it wrong, they're going to get a point. Now, students who aren't in class or who aren't responding to the question, those are the students who are going to get 0, and if the students get it right, then they're going to get 3 points. And what I usually do is I have a separate kind of PollEverywhere section that's going to convert to actual class points according to a policy in my syllabus. So for example, I'm going to take all the points at the end of the quarter that they've earned through PollEverywhere and divide them by all the PollEverywhere points possible. If they get at least 50% of those points, then they get the full, say, 30 out of 30 PollEverywhere points for the class. If they get less than 50%, then I take that percentage, multiply it by the 30 points possible, and that's how many points they get out of 30 for the class. So for example, if they got, say, 25% of the PollEverywhere points, that'd be 15 out of 30 points for the class, right? Or you can do it as extra credit. So a policy that I implemented during the pandemic, where we were just coming back to in-person classes, I didn't want any student to feel obligated to come back to class. So what I did was, again, I had the separate section of PollEverywhere points, and if they got between 50 and 60% of the PollEverywhere points, then they get 1 extra credit point added to their total grade. Right? If they get between 60 and 70% of the PollEverywhere points, I add 2 points to their grade. Between 70 and 80, I add 3. Between 80 and 90, I add 4. Or between 90 and 100, I gave them 5 extra credit points added to their total grade. So however you decide you want to implement it in your class, whether it be for real points or extra credit, that's up to you. But again, the way that I usually do is I have a separate section for PollEverywhere points that then get converted into class points later, right? Once you have the grading system that you want in place, then just click Save, all right? And again, that grading system will be saved. Now, again, there's different features here that you can choose to utilize, like how people can respond. You can have them respond through the website or through text messaging if you want to allow that to happen, right? In addition, you can also impose restrictions. So maybe you just restrict that to those registered participants only, right? How do you want to identify participants? If you're planning on keeping track of their grades, definitely leave this as with registered name and email, right? Only use something that's completely anonymous for anything that you're not planning on keeping track of. As far as response settings are concerned, this is something you might want to look up, right? How many times can each person respond to a poll? And always have them being allowed to change their answers. This meaning that, like, let's say you give them some time to answer a question and that timer hasn't elapsed yet, they can choose to change their answer anytime until that timer elapses. So always keep that in place here, right? And again, you can decide as you want to, how you want to kind of configure these responses. You can also test out your PollEverywhere question, right? And again, have people respond to it just to see if it is working, right? And if you want to, you can actually do look at some presentation instructions here, right, for a deeper understanding on how to use this technology, right? But in any case, one thing that you might want to think about implementing is a timer. In order to activate the timer, or in order to set the timer, right, again, you just kind of have to hover over somewhere in this left corner. Once you're over it, it'll appear. Just click on it, and then you can enter in the time that you would prefer students to have. As a general rule of thumb, I give students 1 minute to answer the question, or 60 seconds. If it's a more in-depth, more like complicated or mathematical question, I might give them a little bit more time. If it's an easier question, I might give them a little bit less. But in general, I give them about 1 minute. That gives them enough time to log in, answer the question, and maybe change their answer if they feel they need to. Right. Now, once you have all that set up, again, you are ready to ask this question in class, you can hit that present button. Once you hit present, notice that the timer will start timing down here, right? And students, again, are going to be able to answer this question on their cell phones or on their laptops, wherever they can access that pollev.com/joelbcon site. Of course, your site is going to be individualized to you. Now, again, I have it set up so that students can answer that question as many times as they want while this timer is counting down, right? So, again, they can answer it, and then if there's still time left, they can change their answer as they see fit. So you can either wait till the timer counts all the way down, in which case the polling will automatically stop, or if you want to stop it at any time prematurely, right, you can hit the escape button. If you think students might need a little bit more time, you can also pause the timer, right, give them time to think about it, and then once you start the timer again, they'll be able to respond after they've thought about it for a bit, right? That is up to you, right? So again, I can hit escape and stop it prematurely, or I can wait till that timer gets all the way down. Notice that it gets to the red there once it gets under 10 seconds, and then usually as time is counting down, I might count down 3, 2, 1, and time. And then the polling is locked, right? Again, you can hit the escape button and it'll take you back to the main screen, right? If you've had responses, then those responses can appear here as a percentage of the class here. And again, these different bars will come out depending on which response is most common. And then again, if you want to show them what the correct answer is, right, you can list that correct answer there, right? So again, this is a useful tool, especially in really big classes of maybe 500 or more students, but something that you can use in small classes of 20 or 30 students as well. Right, you can always look up what the response history is for each question, right, if you are inclined to do so, and you can also show a full report or download as you see fit, right? So again, that's how you create a question and how you implement this software in class. Again, if you go to activities, right, you're going to see that your question is still there, right, or your folder and your question is still there, right? So again, you can find it and you can add to it as you see fit. right? Now, let's say that you want to take all the questions in section 1 and you want to generate a grade report out of that, right? Well, again, click on that box there. Once that is checked, right, you can go to Create Report. Once you've gone to Create Report, the report that I use most is, of course, the gradebook, being an instructor. So I click on that gradebook and then I click Create Report. And that report will be created for you, right, in a CSV file. Now, right now, there's no responses to report, so there won't be anything created. But as you do get some responses, right, there'll be a CSV file that you can download, and it will show you, again, depending on how many questions you have, it'll show you the responses for each question, along with the total points possible and the total points that each student has achieved, next to, again, the name of that student and their ID as they've entered it into the PollEverywhere course site, right? So again, this is kind of how you would use it. If you are interested in asking me questions about how I'm implementing in my class, then feel free to email me at joab.corey@ucr.edu, and I'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have. That being said, again, it's pretty intuitive. I suggest playing around with it. If you're wondering about how many questions do I ask using PollEverywhere in every class, if it's a 50-minute class, I'll probably have about 2, maybe 3 at the most questions in that class. It's just a good way to kind of break up the monotony of the lecture and test students' understanding as you go through. Usually when I get to a concept that students tend to have trouble with based on my history of teaching the class, that's when I usually ask a PollEverywhere in class just to see how well students are understanding the material. But again, if you have any questions about when to use questions or what types of questions will work best or anything like that, feel free to shoot me an email and I'll be happy to answer it. But now you know how to make a question, you know how to tailor that question to your class and whatever grading scale you want to set up, and you now know how to ask that question, right, in your class. If you're wondering, like, what do you have showing up there in class while you're asking a question, again, what I'll have up there is I'll go to my activities, right? If it's this demo that I'm setting up, section 1, I'll probably have it set up like this, right? And then I'll just click on the question as I'm ready to ask it in class. And again, I might have a series of questions ready to be asked. If you kind of want to see what that looks like, right? In my most recent Econ 2 class, right, if I'm looking at, say, Chapter 1, again, I have these 5 questions ready to go, right? And again, I'll click on the question as it is getting ready to be asked. And once again, like when I'm clicking on the question initially, I have it under instructions, right? I can show students what their responses are at the end of class, and then I can show them, again, what the correct answer is, right? So that's kind of what it looks like when you have some responses to show, right? Unfortunately, I can't show you the grade book without revealing student responses and grades, so I won't be able to do that. But if you ever did want to take a look at that grade book, then again, you just click which questions you want to appear in that report, right? Maybe just the first 3 for whatever reason, then click on Create Report, select Gradebook, and then again click on Create Report again, and that report will show up. And it will show up again on the screen with the different students and their responses, and then there'll be a little box down here that says Download. You can download it into a CSV file, which then can be uploaded into Canvas or whatever your learning management system you might be using at the time. So again, this is something that I would recommend you think about using if you're looking to use polling software in your courses, just because, again, it is at no additional cost to the students. It's pretty easy and intuitive to use. Once again, if you have any questions, just feel free to email me at joab.corey@ucr.edu, and I'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have. Until then, make sure you stay safe and healthy. Let me know if you need anything. Take care.